Hello, I'm Tim Wambach, and I am in Sheboygan, Wisconsin with Dr. Mike Saatkamp. And we're talking about his groundbreaking special needs product, Parent, Movement, and Nutrition. Now, in our talks, you had mentioned your story. Can you kind of dive into that and explain what that means to our viewers about your story and how that can affect your child?
Yeah, our stories, my story and your story, is how we're making sense of the history of our lives.
Okay.
You know, from the time that we can remember anything. And we need to include, as we tell our story, if we choose to, we need to include what were the facts of what was going on, and what's the emotional content. How did I feel? What were my motivations? What was I trying to get done? When I learned about this material through the field of interpersonal neurobiology, it was taught to me that there are two kinds of systems that we can use as an analogy to our own nervous system. First is called a cohesive system. The second is called a coherent system. Cohesive system has all the facts lined up. Okay, so for example, if I was going to tell a cohesive story about myself, I would say, well, when I was 5, I remember going to kindergarten, and my teacher was named Mrs. Shiprock. And I finished that school year, and then I went to Idleweller grade school, and then and I had Mrs. Foreman, and it was kind of fun, but I don't remember very much else there. And I grew up, and I did a bunch of stuff, and that's about it. And then if you were to ask me, well, how did your parents fit into that? And if I were to say, well, I don't remember, I guess it was pretty good, that would be an impossible situation.
Right.
Okay? Because our parents influence us massively, all through our development.
Sure.
But a cohesive system means, by cohesive, I'm comparing that to coherent, so we're just using two examples.
Okay.
A cohesive system includes all the facts, but it's kind of walled off from the rest of life. So it's just the facts, ma'am. But a coherent system lists those facts, and then also includes more of the emotional story of what's going on. So it might sound more like, I remember my first day in kindergarten. My mom drove me and asked if I was scared. My dad was there too, and he watched and waved to me as I left, and I was really scared, but I did it because I knew I was going to be supported. And then in first grade, I went, and I really liked Mrs. Foreman, and I used to stay after class because Mrs. Foreman would talk to me for a long time, and was really interested in everything that I had to say. And so that's more coherent because it's including the emotional content of what was going on in your life.
Sure.
And here's the key, why that's important. When we tell our story in a coherent way, meaning we include everything in our life, our nervous system becomes more stable, more attuned, more flexible, and more energetic. Okay, so as well as coherent.
Right.
We're more stable, more attuned, more flexible, and more energetic.
Sure.
Now, that's really important for parents. It's a big, big deal. We need to all be working on this. But it's important to our kids because our kids see that. And when they see a coherent model, they can absorb that into their own life. And when they have safe people around them who understand their own life in terms of the facts and the emotional content,
right,
then they have a better chance at having their own sense of internal security and facing the world with resilience.
That's great. Thank you, Dr. Mike. I'm Tim Wambach with Handicap This, and we're talking about parenting, movement, and nutrition.